Brooksville was a picture of peace. Nestled between rolling hills, it seemed untouched by time. The air was always fresh, carrying the scent of pine and freshly cut grass. Life moved at a slower pace. Neighbors greeted each other with warm smiles. Children played freely in the streets. It was the kind of town where people dreamt of raising families. Main Street was the heart of Brooksville. It was lined with quaint shops. There was a bakery with the aroma of freshly baked bread. A bookstore stood invitingly open. The town square had a gazebo. It stood proudly, a silent witness to countless town gatherings and summer concerts. Brooksville was a place of comfort. It was a place where everyone knew their neighbors. Emily Johnson was the embodiment of Brooksville's spirit. She was a ray of sunshine. Her laughter was infectious, her heart pure. At 16, she was the darling of the town. Everyone adored her. Emily lived in a white two-story house. It stood on Maple Street, shaded by a grand oak tree. Her parents, Laura and Richard, were the epitome of small-town goodness. They were loving and kind, pillars of the community. One sweltering summer afternoon, Emily ventured into the woods. She was with her best friend, Sarah. The woods were a place of familiar comfort for the girls. They had spent countless hours exploring its hidden paths. The air was thick with the scent of pine needles and damp earth. They stumbled upon a clearing. There, shrouded by overgrown vines, stood a dilapidated cabin. It was as if time had forgotten this place. The windows were boarded up, like vacant eyes staring out from a weathered face. The once bright paint peeled, revealing the rotting wood beneath. The door creaked open. It groaned under the weight of years of neglect. Dust swirled. It danced in the beams of sunlight that sliced through the gaps in the boarded-up windows. The air inside was stale and cold. It sent a shiver down Emily's spine. Despite the unsettling atmosphere, Emily stepped inside. The cabin was shrouded in darkness. The only light came from the few slivers of sun. Cobwebs hung from every corner. They were thick with dust, testament to years of abandonment. The air was heavy with the scent of decay. It hinted at a time when the cabin was alive with activity. Now it was a tomb of forgotten memories. The floorboards groaned under their weight as they moved deeper into the cabin. Each step kicked up dust, which danced in the eerie silence. The only sound was the beating of their hearts, loud in their ears. A broken chair lay on its side, a skeletal reminder of the life that once filled the cabin. The fireplace stood cold and empty, its blackened stones hinting at countless fires. Had they been warm and inviting, or had they been used for something more sinister? Emily carefully lifted the box. It was heavier than it looked. The wood was cold and smooth to the touch, feeling wrong, unnatural. She felt a strange energy emanating from it, pulsing against her skin.
What is it, Emily?
Sarah's voice was barely a whisper, unable to shake the feeling of dread that had settled over her. The air felt thick and charged with something unseen. Emily's breath caught in her throat. The eye in the pendant seemed to gleam, pulsing with an eerie inner light. She felt an unexplainable pull towards it, as if the necklace itself was calling out to her. "It's beautiful," Emily whispered, her voice hushed in the stillness of the cabin. She reached out, her fingers trembling slightly, and picked up the necklace. The silver felt cold against her skin, sending a shiver down her spine. As soon as the necklace touched her skin, Emily felt a sharp pain. It shot through her head, blinding and intense. She cried out, stumbling back against the damp cabin wall.
Emily, what's wrong? What happened?
The days that followed were a blur. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The whispers continued, growing stronger with each passing hour. They wormed their way into her thoughts, poisoning her mind with their insidious promises. She became withdrawn and irritable. Her once bright smile was replaced with a haunted look. Her parents noticed the change in their daughter, their concern growing with each passing day. The darkness spread through Emily like a poison. It infected her thoughts, twisted her words, and contorted her once gentle nature. Her once bright eyes turned cold and distant. They reflected an inner turmoil that chilled her parents to the bone. Laura and Richard were beside themselves with worry. Their daughter, their pride and joy, was slipping away. They sought help from doctors, therapists, anyone who might offer a glimmer of hope in their darkening world. Desperate and afraid, Richard called Father Matthews. The old priest had always been a source of comfort in their small town. They prayed he could offer solace now, even if it was just in their own hearts. Father Matthews arrived at the height of the storm. Lightning flashed, illuminating Emily's twisted face for a fleeting moment. The sight that greeted him stole the air from his lungs. He recognized the signs instantly. This was not sickness, but something far more sinister. Emily was possessed. The air crackled with energy as Father Matthews battled the entity. He recited Holy Scripture, his voice a weapon against the darkness. The demon fought back. It used Emily's mouth to spew blasphemies, her voice distorted and chilling. The room grew cold, the temperature plummeting with each word Father Matthews uttered. The storm outside mirrored the battle raging within the small house. Winds howled like banshees, and rain lashed against the windows. It was as if nature itself held its breath, watching the struggle unfold. The silence that followed was deafening. The storm outside had subsided. It was as if nature itself was catching its breath. The air inside the room was heavy. It was thick with the lingering scent of holy water and something ancient and foul. Emily lay still on the bed. Her chest rose and fell with each shallow breath. The glow in her eyes, the eerie green light that had chilled them all to the bone, was gone. The pendant, however, still hung around her neck. It seemed to pulse faintly, a dying ember of the malevolent force it had unleashed. Emily's recovery was slow. She slept for days, her body and mind exhausted from the ordeal. When she finally awoke, she was like a fragile bird, her spirit battered and bruised. The once vibrant light in her eyes was dimmed, replaced by a haunting sadness that tore at her parents' hearts. She remembered nothing of the possession. The darkness had mercifully veiled those horrific memories. But the scars ran deep. She was plagued by nightmares, haunted by faceless figures and guttural whispers that echoed in the silence of her room. The town of Brooksville, once a sanctuary of peace and innocence, was forever changed. The whispers started subtly. Neighbors exchanged hushed conversations over backyard fences. Children whispered about the strange happenings at the Johnson house. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some dismissed the stories as the ramblings of a frightened family. Others whispered of curses and ancient evils. The idyllic facade of Brooksville had cracked, revealing the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. The demonic possession had ripped through the very fabric of Brooksville. It had exposed the fragility of their peaceful existence. The townsfolk, once so quick to offer smiles and support, now eyed each other with suspicion. Whispers followed Emily like shadows. They clung to her, suffocating her with their unspoken accusations. Some, their faith shaken, turned away from the Johnson family. They avoided eye contact. Their greetings were curt, devoid of the warmth that once defined their small town. Fear, a corrosive acid, had etched invisible lines between neighbors, dividing families and poisoning the well of their once unshakable unity. Emily, despite the whispers, the fear in the eyes of those she had known her entire life, refused to let the darkness consume her. She clung to the love of her parents. It was a beacon, guiding her through the storm that raged within and around her. She returned to her art. Her canvases, once filled with vibrant colors and scenes of idyllic beauty, now reflected the turmoil she had endured. They were dark, abstract expressions of fear and isolation, but also of resilience. Each stroke was a defiant act, a testament to her will to heal, to reclaim her life from the clutches of the shadows. Life in Brooksville slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy. The whispers faded. They were replaced by hushed tones of respect and admiration for the young woman Emily had become. The scars remained, etched into the town's collective memory. They served as a reminder of the fragility of peace, the constant battle between light and darkness that raged within them all. Emily never forgot the darkness she had faced. It lingered at the edges of her vision, a constant shadow companion, but she refused to let it define her. She wore her experience like a shield, protecting her heart while reminding her of her own strength.